So the Senate went nuclear just the other day, grilling RFK Jr. over the COVID vaccines. And here's the thing, this was supposed to be about the health of the nation. Instead, it was a masterclass in what I call political psychosis. Remember what we actually lived through? The worst public policy campaign in U.S. history. An experimental drug was rolled out with the mandate, take it or else. Lockdowns that wrecked the economy, and censorship that silenced dissent. Not just from random people online, but world-class scientists and doctors. And don't forget the blizzard of draconian policies that divided this country like nothing we've seen in modern times. First up, Senator Warner.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved
and
lives?
That's the problem, is that they didn't have the data. The data by the Biden administration, absolutely dismal.
So who is politicizing? You're saying the Biden administration politicized all the data? Go back to what Senator Cantwell just said.
They fired Dr.
Go
Krause.
to the Trump Surgeon General.
They fired Dr. Krause. They fired all the people who questioned the orthodoxy. They fired Dr. Gruber, Dr. Krause,
So,
Martin
Mr. Chairman, the
Gilmore.
Secretary of Health and Human Services doesn't know how many Americans died from COVID. Doesn't know if the vaccine helped prevent any deaths. And you are sitting as Secretary of Health and Human Services? How can you be that ignorant?
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
And here we are, 5 years later, still not allowed to ask the obvious question. Did the vaccines live up to the hype? We all know the answer, because we're living it. Next, Senator Warren.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying?
You want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Meanwhile, as you can see, RFK Jr. is not backing down. He says he's cleaning house, firing conflicted officials, and pushing for transparency. And by the way, those precious vaccines, well, Medicare and Medicaid are still going to pay for them. So let's listen to a voice of reason, Dr. Oz.
Let me just offer one little quote that Secretary Kennedy offered us last week. We were in a staff meeting. It was actually from his father, and he said, "Progress requires change, but change has enemies." And the Secretary is a powerful and strong man, and he has powerful and strong enemies as well. But he said from day one, certainly when he offered me this position at CMS, he said, we want to put the human back in Health and Human Services, and that should be the absolute focus.
We've got to put the human back in public health. But here's the headline nobody wants to touch. Only 1/3 of healthcare workers are getting the new COVID booster. 1/3. Hello, what does that tell you? Meanwhile, 76% of Americans are battling chronic illness. That's the real crisis. That's the battlefield. And RFK Jr. called Senator Wyden out specifically for it.
How many preventable child deaths are an acceptable sacrifice for enacting an agenda that I think is fundamentally cruel and defies common sense?
Senator, you've sat in that chair for how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%. And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening? Today, for the first time in 20 years, we learned that infant mortality has increased in our country. It's not because I came in here. It's because of what happened during the Biden administration that we're going to end.
All that rage and chaos and yelling, it just proved that Washington is still overdosing on political psychosis, a fever that infected medicine and left it in ruins. And the irony? Trump is right in the middle of it. And yet, he basically prophesied this 5 years ago when he said,
"We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. We're not going to let the cure be worse than the problem."
Don't mistake what I'm saying. No one denies COVID was deadly. Millions around the world died from the virus itself. But in terms of this nation's mental health, social trust, and unity, the cure was worse than the disease. Scripture tells us that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. Today, we're groaning, not because of the virus, but because political psychosis infected our leaders. So, what do you think? Is transparency, accountability, and returning power to the doctor-patient relationship righteous? Or should we go back to the status quo that gave us the COVID pandemic? Comment below. Honestly, tell me what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you found value in this video. It helps make this channel possible. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to join me in prayer for the political leaders in Washington, D.C., that God will break this fever of political psychosis and help some of them at least to begin to think right, to live free.